Welcome back to the techno-communism conversation. It hasn't been much of a conversation today. I blocked some people who were in my direct messages, um, licking billionaire boots, techno-fascists, crypto-fascists, licking billionaire boots, and I shouldn't even be talking to these people, right? But give them a chance to make their case, not knowing for certain who they are. Now I do, and these are not people you should be treating with. These are people who, in just a slightly less fascistic world, would be in prison. The necessity of insurrectionist cybernetic socialism. In the face of a pending climate catastrophe, the path to human survival is not in reform or in technological advancement outpacing climate catastrophe under financial capital constraints, but in cybernetic communist revolution. The United States and Western capitalist systems are the architects of our collective doom, with their relentless pursuit of profit driving the planet to the brink of ecological collapse. Within 5 years, we will have turned on the oven, wherein billions of people will die because of an inhospitable planet. And that's very likely to be yourself or your loved ones. It's most likely to be people in the global south, which is why these tech bro types are, without fail, white supremacists, climate deniers. The time has come to dismantle these oppressive US-led systems and replace them with a sustainable, equitable alternative through an insurrection that would allow the building of fully realized cybernetic socialism. Capitalism does nothing in this world but grow like a cancer and ravage the Earth's people and ecosystems, destabilizing continents of human geography, completely destabilizing the climate. The United States is the foremost champion of this fascistic set of systems, and it bears the greatest responsibility for much of this death and destruction. Even without runaway climate apocalypse overheating, as we understand it now, by the standards of their mid-20th century, the United States was murdering millions and millions of people in anti-communist wars. It's continued that basic strategy through proxy wars and more exploitative and less ideologically driven behaviors on this order of magnitude, but 50 million people have died in direct conflict caused by the United States because of this insanity. The military-industrial complex is the world's worst polluter, and it exemplifies the toxic intersection of environmental and economic exploitation. The United States military-industrial complex is an abomination that should never have existed, not for a moment. And if we are going to survive as a species, it must be destroyed within the next 5 years. Again, every climate scientist says this. This is not a matter for speculation. Those climate scientists do not always lay the blame on this world's worst super polluter and protector of other super polluters, the Pentagon, but they understand that the essential problem of super pollution is going to cause the demise or near demise of our species. It has $1 trillion approximate annual budget every year, growing every year, and it perpetuates these endless, insane wars, such as in many number of wars going on now that would not be going on without the MIC. You could say that warfare as a 20th and 21st century phenomena lies at the feet of the United States military-industrial complex and its other highly fascistic Western allies. And all of this is really in the name of profit, generating financial capital for the ruling elites. And it's mystified in the public's mind as having to do with the actions of nations, or 1,000 other layers of confusion. But in the end, it is private wealth that is responsible for all of this misery. Every serious client scientist says, again, we have 5 years to avert the worst impacts of climate change, and the window for meaningful action is closing rapidly. And yet, the United States and its vile Western allies upholding this international militarist cabal continue to prioritize corporate interests and militaristic interests in support of those corporate interests over the basic survival of our species. And you will not find a technologist who is not essentially aligned with this worldview. Many of these people would seem to be quite intelligent people, right? They know a lot, maybe, about computers. They know a lot about some specific discipline that they have worked hard in. But if the basis of your work is to uphold a system that's killing you, you're not an intelligent person. There's something complicated going on in your fucking head, but that's not intelligence. The relentless extraction, particularly of fossil fuels, the destruction of forests, the super pollution in other forms from military-industrial complexes, livestock systems, the pollution of our air and water, these are all symptoms of a system that only cares about private wealth and financial capital and does not care about you. And you can write that on your fucking tombstone in another 30 years, that you were a bootlicking dog who allowed that to happen, because there won't be anyone left. There's an illusion of reform among people who defy this system. Let's say political figures like Jill Stein running for president in the United States. Would Jill Stein end the United States military-industrial complex as I would if elected president? I am running as, admittedly, a fringe candidate, a write-in candidate, but I have written an executive order that would disband the United States military-industrial complex and federal government in effect on day one, and restoring all of those federal properties to their rightful owners, Native American, existing Native American organizations, which would be built out necessarily at that time. The 50 states and territories would remain basically in their same form, but what wouldn't exist is the ecocidal military-industrial complex. Similarly, someone like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, talking this week a lot on a big stage about things like public health service. She's not fought for a public health service in her political career. She's worse than Jill Stein. But all of these efforts, good or bad faith, are stymied by working within the entrenched power structures of a capitalist system. And these people, these so-called transhumanists, who I fell out with today, they are people who are wasting their efforts by trying to work within that system, rather than trying to grow a true cybernetic socialist insurgency, this thing which will eventually happen, right? Just like someone like Ben Zion, if not Ben Zion, will in time end this ecocidal military-industrial complex. Because what happens in 5 years when the oven is on and billions of people are dying, and everyone on Earth knows that it was basically 99% the fault of the United States? Do you think that United States people are still going to be sleeping comfortably in their air-conditioned bedrooms? Or will their heads be on pikes at that point when billions and billions of people are dying? The conversation came up that it's cheaper to house. Recently, the Supreme Court in the last in the last few, say, 48 hours, ruled that unhoused people can be arrested God damn it, keep losing track of my thing here. For the crime of being unhoused. There is, of course, not the safety net system to house people, and of course, wages are artificially low, kept artificially low. Housing costs are kept artificially high. This is largely a this is largely a scheme to keep the rightful owners of this nation, the people that I mentioned, from being able to even understand their class interests, much less assert them. That would be the rightful owners of the North American continent are Native American people and African American people who are not settlers, who were brought here in chains, and everyone else here is living on a prayer, not someone who should be dominating the halls of power and driving the grand extinction of humankind as they are. They should be